Hi there, welcome to the Uruguayan Heroes YouTube channel. Today we will talk about the Uruguay national team that will compete in Group H of the 2026 World Cup. They will be facing Spain, Cape Verde, and Saudi Arabia in the US, and also the Spain game in Mexico. And it's an interesting group. It's an interesting story for Uruguay leading up to the World Cup. Uruguay, obviously, four-time world champions, two-time FIFA World Cup champions, 15 times Copa America champions, one of the most successful footballing nations that has ever been, um, while being a tiny, relatively speaking, South American nation. It's a great story, and that history always means that when Uruguay arrive at the World Cup or the Copa America, even when they're not playing well, when they do not have the team, maybe perhaps on paper, they still arrive, and the fans go up to the tournament and live up to the tournament with the hope, with the belief that they can lift the trophy. And I'm a Uruguay fan. For the good people who don't know me, I run the Uruguay Heroes Twitter or X account. I'm not even Uruguayan, but I support Uruguay ahead of my own country. So I come into this World Cup with the same belief, even though it is going to be difficult. Because if we go, maybe we can start from the beginning, from when Bielsa took over. If we go through Uruguay's recent games, recent results, the way they are playing, uh, they are look well quite a bit off compared to the US nations. But having said that, Uruguay one time arrived at the World Cup in 2010 as the last team to qualify and looked like a million miles away from competing for anything at that World Cup. And Uruguay were quite close to reaching the final. I mean, so close. So you never know. And Uruguay, even though the performance are great, still have players that can deliver on the biggest stage. So yeah, let's get into Bielsa and his cycle first. So Bielsa, he took over in 2023, and Uruguay had just been knocked out of the group stage of the 2022 World Cup. Diego Alonso, he sold us all these dreams, you know. He came in replacing Tavares when Uruguay needed wins in the final qualifiers for the 2022 World Cup, and he delivered. And then we went to Qatar, and well, we all know what happened. Uruguay shit the bed, basically. Um, so Bielsa replaced him. He came in, and Bielsa started off really brilliantly, you know. Uruguay beat Brazil and Argentina for the first time in many, many years, both of them. And the win against Argentina at La Bombonera, when they were like unbeaten for so many games, they had won the World Cup a year prior. It was a great result, and it made us believe, wow, what is going to happen here? You know, this is a manager who is has a unique way of setting up his teams, of like a unique philosophy, a philosophy that has inspired some of the world's greatest coaches. So what can we achieve with this guy in charge? And at that moment in time, in 2023, late 2023, we were all believing, this is maybe it can be something special. And the 2024 Copa America was just around the corner, and Uruguay started the Copa America off greatly, playing attacking football, free-flowing football, winning games. Obviously against Bolivia and Panama, were no great footballing nations. And then the US game was a little bit more of hard work, but still we got the win. Then the quarterfinals came around, scraped the win against Brazil via penalties, but you're never gonna blow away Brazil in a quarterfinal of a major tournament. So, maybe if you're Germany, then it can happen. But okay, in the semifinals it was obviously. And then against Colombia, in my opinion, what happened there is like it kind of gave signs of what was about to happen. And obviously, at the moment in time, I was not thinking, okay, now everything is gonna go downhill. But looking back at it, like retrospectively, it makes a little bit sense because in that game, Uruguay, Colombia were 1-0 up or went 1-0 up in the first half, but got a red card late in the first half. And then the second half, Uruguay had like 45 minutes, 50 minutes even if you add everything up, to create something, and we were not really able to do anything, even against 10 men. And that's something that has been, um, I would say, symbolic or maybe characteristic of the team since that Copa America. Apart from a few results like the one against Colombia here, 3-2, Uruguay struggled to create and score in qualifiers for so many games. Like it was crazy, you know, against nations that, I mean, our team against theirs, it's quite a bit different, you know. for example, Venezuela. Paraguay is a decent team, don't get me wrong, but still, Uruguay struggled to create anything and to score. And the Bolivia game was one of the worst, I would say. Even though it's at the height, it was like a terrible game. And then towards the end, we kind of picked up a little bit of momentum again to get some results at home against Venezuela and Peru. But that team that was playing at that moment in time, and even the one that played against Algeria in 2026, so one of the two March friendlies, that's a team that doesn't really make a good case to be a dangerous outsider for the World Cup. So that's where we are. A team that is not looking great, is not looking gelled like it should be after 2.5 years of Bielsa. And that makes it quite unpredictable as to what kind of Uruguay we will see at the World Cup. We can see a Uruguay that has big players delivering and carrying them in games. Because what I do know, what I guess we all know about international football is that it's more moments based. It's big players getting their moment, getting their goal, and really dragging their team all over the line sometimes. But as far as the team and as my confidence as to can we perform against the big nations like Spain, for example, which we will face in the group stages, or France, or even England, because obviously the England we faced in the friendly is different to the England we will face at the World Cup. I think it's going to be really difficult, and I feel really uh, well sad about it because I think Uruguay, even though the team and certainly the front line is not as it obviously was, we still have a team that could like be a threat if we were organized, if we had a real good game plan, a real good synergy in our team. But at the moment, it doesn't seem like we have, and there are many reasons for that. I mean, Bielsa had some problems with his squad, obviously with Suarez, Canovio, who's now back in, but even with Valverde, you sometimes you hear the Valverde say things that doesn't really it doesn't really indicate as to everything going perfectly as it should. So who knows? Hopefully that doesn't come to the surface during the World Cup. But we have to find out, I guess. Okay, let's go to the group. So the group here. So Uruguay open against Saudi Arabia, and then face Cape Verde, and finally face Spain. So I mean, this is a group that Uruguay, whatever circumstances, should always finish second. And I think actually second is obviously you get through straight through. It's going to be hard to beat Spain or to finish above Spain, even on goal difference. For example, if you get a draw against them, that's going to be hard. And I don't think it will be great, but we have to be realistic as well. But second is the absolute minimum. We, in some scenario, especially in this group, if we win one game, we could go through as the third place. But if we cannot beat Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia, I have no confidence of us actually doing something in knockout stages, you know? So second for me is the maximum, and it should be, or it's not the maximum, is the minimum, sorry. And Uruguay should aim to finish second. A team like that, I mean, we can get to the squad. I mean, most of you will know the names, but even though they are light in some positions, you still got Valverde, you got Salazar and Maxi Araujo, who made the team of the season in Liga Portugal. Salazar scored many goals. Now has moved to Sporting Club de Portugal for a huge fee. Maxi Araujo played brilliant games in the Champions League. So versatile. These are players, and we are not even talking about Bentancur, who obviously recovered from an injury, but Bentancur, Matias Oliveira, two-time Serie A champion, and even guys like Araujo, Hosma, who are not at the top of their game, but they are experienced international footballers who still have that can deliver in this in tournament like this. So the quality is there, but also we have to be realistic. When you look at our front line, when you look at the strikers we have, Darwin, who has not played a game of football since the March friendlies because he wasn't written or I wasn't part of the Al Hilal squad anymore for the league. So he's not played football for a long time now, and even he has not scored a goal for Uruguay, the national team, in over 800 minutes, and that's our number nine. That's our first choice number nine. Then you have Federico Viñas, who is our second choice number nine. He's had a good season for Oviedo. He really has 9 goals in a team like Oviedo who struggled I mean, they went down with like, I think an 11 or 12 point difference. And especially in the second half of the season, Viñas had a run where he scored like, I think 7 goals in 8 games, something like this. So that's good. And then you have Aguirre, a player that's playing in Mexico, who is decent, who scored a huge goal for us against Colombia. And it was great to see that, a player like that, a little bit older, coming into the national team, delivering. I mean, I mean, having his childhood dreams being realized, it's great. But it's also true that he's playing in Mexico, hasn't scored for like his last six, seven or eight. That wasn't a meme. That wasn't like the TikTok trend. That was accidental. But that haven't scored for like 8 games in the Liga MX. It's not a player that will win you games, big games at the World Cup, in my opinion. And then when you look at the wingers, Brian Rodriguez, Augusto Conobio, these are decent players in the Americas. One playing in Brazil, one in Mexico. Pelistri playing in Greece hardly playing, and actually I don't believe he should be in there, but okay. These players obviously they are a far cry from the wingers some other nations have, who are playing in top European clubs. So in these departments we are light, we are light compared to the teams we have to compete with to win or to get into a quarterfinal or a semifinal. So that's kind of worrying. And then when you move to the midfield, you have players like I said, Valverde, Bentancur, Salazar, great players. Taras Keita, who obviously is injured now, but Bielsa would take him, and hopefully he recovers soon. De La Cruz, all good players. De La Cruz and Taras Keita, obviously a bit more technical and also more unproven when it comes to the European level, obviously, because they play in Brazil. Um, Ugarte, is another one who, I mean, he was always going to get called up, but he has had a poor season for the United. So we don't know what kind of Ugarte will show up at the World Cup. And then the other midfielder is Martinez, Emiliano Martinez, good player, physical, quite technical as well. It's more of a squad player, like Sanabria as well. So it's a squad with players who are playing in top clubs, players who are playing in minor leagues, in leagues outside of Europe. It's a mix, but it has got quality, enough quality to finish second for sure in their group. But then if they finish second, that's another thing. If Uruguay finish second, they will face. Let's move on to this against the number one of Group J, and that's Argentina. So that's a tough one, obviously. And Uruguay have beaten Argentina in La Bombonera like 3 years ago. But that's gonna be a huge match. One that if it happens, I'm looking forward to like crazy. But it's gonna be difficult for sure. Yeah, but I guess we will have to like wait for group stages and then see what happens. But it's a match that makes Uruguay's path to glory, potential glory, because obviously why that's always a dream, difficult. Um, but then again, why not? It's an historic matchup. I mean, one of the greatest rivalries in football in international football. So I'm excited to see it for sure. Okay, let's move on to this. Maybe it's a nice thing to address or to highlight. Uruguay will be staying um, in the Fairmont Mayacoba. It's like a resort in Mexico on the Caribbean coast of Mexico, and they will train at the training center nearby. That will be their base for the World Cup. Uruguay will, and this is not me just picking a hotel of where I'm gonna stay soon because way out of my price range, but this is the hotel one that I just had shown. And this is, let's move on here. So yeah, sorry. Yeah, so this is where I stay. And Uruguay play one game in Miami. It's a flight that's quite easily doable. It's like 1:45, 2 hours, and then they play their other game um, more north in Mexico, which is like a 2 hour flight. So the camp actually it's kind of it's good. That's the Sapo Papan is what I'm talking about. Sorry, it's a good base for them. I mean, this World Cup is a lot of traveling, but in the group stages, Uruguay traveling is kind of okay. It's doable, and also I mean there are like 5 days in between the games, so that makes it easier for Uruguay. So yeah, that's um, that's the start. That's the group stage, and Uruguay should aim to finish second um, in the group stage. Obviously, if we look at a historical picture of the World Cup when it comes to Uruguay, obviously champions in 1930, 1950. I mean, for many of you people looking this, there's no news to you, obviously, but I just try to, I guess, make it a bit more, uh, well, give more stats or more details. Last time around, obviously, Uruguay, group stages of the 2022 World Cup were knocked out. And I mean, I don't see it happening. Certainly not with the third place option, but that will be a catastrophe if we once again are knocked out. But let's not assume that, and I don't think it's gonna happen. Yeah, and yeah, Uruguay will not play a pre-tournament friendly, which I mean, I guess yeah, I would have liked to see it. I know the argument for injuries, but I mean, Darsketa, he sustained an injury during training like this week, so it can happen everywhere. And I think actually a friendly is a little bit more of a controlled environment, sometimes even than trainings in which you prepare like quite rigorously and quite fanatically for a World Cup. But oh well, it's what it is. We will start our World Cup campaign at 15 June against Saudi Arabia. And one other thing, this is something I guess I read. I think it was at FRE, the Uruguayan, I mean the sporting section of El Observador, Uruguay newspaper. And Salazar, who I think is actually one of the guys that can surprise a lot of people because he's not that known to the wider footballing audience, like Valverde, for example, or Darwin. But he's a great player, scored a lot of goals this season for Braga, and really, really showed the player he can be. So versatile, huge engine on him, physical, can spot a pass. He's really a complete, very complete player, and he can become only the third Uruguayan to kind of have the father-son combination when it comes to playing at the World Cup. His father Jose Luis Salazar played for Uruguay at the I think I put it down here. I think it's 1986, I guess. Yeah, 1986 World Cup. And Salazar can play in this one. It happened twice before with Pablo Forlan and obviously the great Diego Forlan, and then Julio Montero Castillo and Paulo Montero, former captain or former Juventus captain as well. So that's something nice, I guess, to see a little bit of Uruguayan footballing history. Um, when it comes to history and Uruguay, I mean, Uruguay have a rich history, and someone who has been documenting that in a great book, the first book From Beauty to Duty, which kind of related or told the story about Uruguay's early beginnings as a footballing nation. Um, and this guy I'm talking about, Martin Cruz, who wrote this book, has published or will publish another book. And it's this one, Uruguay, football's first global power. He sent it over to me, which is really kind of him. And I'm looking forward to reading it when I'm watching the World Cup, or not obviously during the games, but I guess in the World Cup period. And it really tells a story about Uruguay, the Olympic glories, in Amsterdam and Paris, and then the first World Cup in Uruguay. So I would really advise you to get it on Amazon. I think it's nice work. He's someone who's known to the community, the kind of small online Uruguayan football community. Yeah, so I guess I'll send the link, or I'll put the link down below if you want to buy it. Feel free to do so. I think it won't be a mistake. Yeah. So yeah. Okay, I think that's it. Nice to do a video like this again. And you can follow me obviously on Twitter on Uruguay Heroes. I will be more active than I've been over the last year or so, because obviously when the World Cup comes around, you get excited and you will make time to cover it, and I will obviously do that. Maybe I will do some live streams or some other videos in the build up and during the World Cup, if you would like that. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, and then I guess I'll see you the next time. Bye bye.